game went and how egregious the referees were and how they were not protecting players, and they especially weren't protecting the number one player in this league, the biggest draw in this league, which is Caitlin Clark, and they continue to not do that. She's going to stand up for her teammate, and that's what she did in that.
It is totally their responsibility, and if they had taken care of the business earlier, we would be in this situation right now. But the way that the game went, and how egregious the referees were, and how they were not protecting players, and they especially weren't protecting the number one player in this league, the biggest draw in this league, which is Caitlin Clark, and they continue to not do that. She's going to stand up for her teammate.
Her mortal enemy. Her mortal enemy took out a player. JC Sheldon. Caitlin Clark's mortal enemy. JC Sheldon.
And that's what she did in that moment. The WNBA is dealing with a full-blown credibility crisis, and the Indiana Fever have had it up to here. What Caitlin Clark endured against the Connecticut Sun wasn't just another bad whistle. It was part of a disturbing trend that's been quietly tolerated for way too long, and now it's boiling over here is the problem. So many of these incidents are happening towards Indiana Fever players, particularly Caitlin Clark, instead of headlines celebrating the Fever's huge win and their well-earned spot in the Commissioner's Cup Finals. All anyone can talk about is how Caitlin Clark continues to get manhandled. This wasn't physical basketball, this was a full-on ambush with stripes on the sidelines, shrugging like it's business as usual.
Also in the eye! Eject her! Eject both of them! Eject both of them! So there's nothing there, there's nothing there. Nothing there. JC Sheldon claws her in the eye. Then the two of them get into it, and then Mabrey just goes.
The Sun didn't just play hard, they practically auditioned for an MMA contract and somehow walked away clean. If you've had it with corrupt referees, comment protect Caitlin Clark. Let's go the moment Fever head coach Stephanie White stepped in front of the mic. You could tell this wasn't going to be your average post-game cliche session. No measured takes, no coach speak. She was locked and loaded with facts, fury, and a full tank of righteous indignation, ready to unleash for this first. I know you and JC go way back to the Big Ten. What was going on with the chai pot there, and what explanation were you given for the tech that you got? I'll take the official questions. I've got every blazing highlight lined up because this postgame wasn't just a rant.
Wait, JC Sheldon got away with clawing her in the face. Caitlin got teed up for getting clawed in the face. They didn't even call it a common foul. They didn't call it a common foul. They didn't even call it a common foul.
It was a reckoning. If there's one thing this game taught us, it's that the WNBA hasn't just failed to adjust after Caitlin Clark's injury hiatus. They've flat out tuned out every warning sign, and the Fever, they're officially out of patience, done playing nice and ready to put the league on blast. Let's rewind the chaos, the aftermath, and the wave of reactions now crashing over the WNBA's officiating department, like a tidal wave of Do Your Job, the matchup Indiana versus Connecticut in a high-stakes Commissioner Cup rematch. Now, the Sun might not be title favorites, but they've perfected the art of messy basketball, and considering their record against the Fever, they clearly came into this one ready to stir the pot from tip-off.
All right, enough is enough. You know, at some point, the line gets crossed too often where something needs to be done and things need to be corrected. And that is certainly the case with the way things around Caitlin Clark are officiated. This is a constant problem now. You know,
the energy was tense, the fouls were flying, and the refs seemed to have left their whistles in the locker room or just reserved them for Clark alone. And Caitlin Clark are talking to the official. They're both going at it and saying, hey, oh, there's a little extra right there. Uh-oh, enter JC Sheldon, best known this season for treating opposing players like bowling pins. She's already injured Sophie Cunningham and Sydney Coulson, but apparently she wanted to go 3 for 3 with a little extra spice for Caitlin Clark, her mortal enemy. Her mortal enemy took out a player, JC Sheldon, Caitlin Clark's mortal enemy, JC Sheldon. So she made a beeline for Caitlin's face. Yes, literally. And in the chaos that have followed, Marina Mabrey body-checked Clark so hard you'd think they were scrimmaging for an NFL Combine watch when Caitlin Clark is trying to create some space.
I've kind of backed off on because physical play is a part of sports. You know, going after a superstar and trying to rough them up a little bit to get in their head is a part of sports. But when it crosses the line, the referees need to do.
It looked like she just got hit in the eye. Their ooh-ooh And Marina Mabrey, I missed that one, Idona. Oh, I missed that one too for fans watching at home. It was deja vu of the worst kind. From DJ Jane Carrington's infamous eye poke to Kennedy Carter's WWE audition, we've seen this horror movie before, only now it's becoming a franchise in a single play. Connecticut resurrected all the dirtiest hits of last season in rapid-fire succession, poking, pushing, and shoving, like they were getting bonuses for each foul. You can't claw someone in the eye, eject or eject. Both of them eject both of them, so there's nothing there. There's nothing there, nothing there. Jay-Z claws her in the eye, then the two of them get into it, and then more, maybe just goes and shoves her onto the ground, eject both of them. And what did the refs do? Absolutely nothing. This was the moment for the league to step up and say,
all game, folks, all game. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were getting checked. All game, the Indiana Fever were getting punked. All game, the referees let this physical style of basketball continue and continue and continue and continue and continue and continue.
you don't mess with our star. So instead, they reached deep into their pocket and somehow pulled out a tech for Caitlin Clark. Wait, Jay Jones got away with clawing her in the face. Kayla got teed up for getting caught in the face. They didn't even call it a common foul. They didn't call it a common foul. They didn't even call it a common foul. Oh my God, they don't care about players. They don't care about players. You heard that, right? No ejections, no technicals on the instigators, just Caitlin Clark catching a tech foe. All right, here is Clark splashing home a three from way down. You couldn't write a better script. She didn't just win the game, she made a statement, loud, clear, and from way downtown. And the best part, she let them hear about it. The trash talk, the swagger, the I run this court energy, it was all there with her hand in her face, competitive. And then came the moment that flipped the narrative completely after the dust had settled. The Fever's official account dropped a slow-motion clip of Caitlin Clark's reaction. And let's be clear, that wasn't just a celebration, that was a declaration.
Explanation for the tech that she got. You know, I think it was pretty obvious that stuff was brewing, right? When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen, and it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this.
A silent cinematic mic drop seen across the basketball universe. And don't think we're skipping over this next part because it was the cherry on top of this wild saga with the steel going coast to coast. And we got another break here. As JC Sheldon goes right after Sophie Cunningham with all the fury of a superhero whose origin story starts with someone messing with her teammate, exacted the perfect revenge. She didn't hesitate, she delivered a textbook flagrant on JC Sheldon, clean, direct, and unmissable. It wasn't petty, it wasn't reckless, it was surgical, and it was necessary. Sophie didn't show up this season to pad stats. She was brought in to be the Fever's security detail enforcer and moral compass, all rolled into one headband-wearing powerhouse. When someone comes for Caitlin, they now understand there's a price to pay. This was all game, folks, all game. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever were getting checked all game. The Indiana Fever were getting punked all game. The referees let this physical style of basketball continue and continue and continue and continue and continue and continue. And eventually Sophie Cunningham had enough. The days of letting it slide are officially over.
This game, it's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do, right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete. And they're going to have...
Indiana's tolerance has expired, and Sophie just filed the final notice. The crowd absolutely electric. They knew what they were witnessing wasn't just retaliation, it was a message broadcast. In high definition, the Fever will not be pushed around anymore, and then we hit a tipping point. It is totally their responsibility. That's a hard foul. That's a flagrant foul. And if they had taken care of the business earlier, we would be in this situation right now. When's the last time you heard national commentators openly slam the officials during a WNBA broadcast? Not question, not hint, slam. It was that out of control. The refs let the game spiral by refusing to make the obvious calls when you fail to contain escalating physicality. This is the result: player-on-player retaliation, chaos, borderline melees, and the only thing louder than the crowd was the silence from the whistles. So of course everyone was waiting for Stephanie White's post-game presser like it was the season finale of a hit drama series. There wasn't an explanation for the tech that she got. You know, I think it was pretty obvious that stuff was brewing, right? When the officials don't get control of the ball game, when they allow that stuff to happen. And it's been happening all season long. All season long. It's not just this game. It's been happening all season long. This is what happens, right? This is what happens. You've got competitive women who are the best in the world at what they do. right? And when you allow them to play physical and you allow these things to happen, they're going to compete and they're going to have their teammates back, because if you remember, Coach White already went nuclear earlier in the season over poor officiating and caught a fine for it. But this was DEFCON 1. What happened during this game wasn't about one missed call. It was the latest chapter in a saga of blatant, repeated, and dangerous disregard for the league's most important player. And Stephanie didn't walk into that presser with a speech. She walked in with a flamethrower. Do you really think that the NBA would be allowing certain players in the NBA to go after LeBron, the way that Caitlin was chucked to the ground? Do you think if another player came up blindsided, LeBron chucked him to the ground after he had just been poked in the eye, that the NBA would be like, oh yeah, technicals. Nobody's ejected, just a common technical foul that would never it would never happen. And it's crazy that. I mean, it's not actually crazy, it's not surprising, unfortunately, because the referees have been horrible this entire time, but somebody else who called out the referees and has not been afraid to call out the referees is Coach Stephanie White. Commentators echoed the same sentiment. The refs lost control. It was a failure in real time, and every player felt it. When the officials won't protect you, the players will protect each other. That's exactly what we saw. And you better believe the Fever's front office approved every second of Sophie's enforcement. They've had it this kind of thing. It's textbook sports justice. The NBA's been doing it for decades. Remember the bad boy Pistons, the Jordan rules, the Bulls having to hire enforcers to protect Jor. Sophie Cunningham, superhero, revenge, flagrant foul. Physical style of basketball, retaliation, message. Stephanie White, officiating, competitive women. NBA protection, referees, enforcers.